Hey everybody, Joe Moriarty here, Raven 360. Just had a really nice conversation on the Training-Led Growth podcast with Sanjiv Varma. Sanjiv is a longtime leader in education services and internal sales enablement and training. Right now, he's actually the Vice President, Global Field Enablement and Customer Education Services at Juniper Networks. He spent time at VMware, spent time at NetApp. But he gave some really great knowledge about the functions of his organization, kind of the proliferation strategy, revenue strategy, P&L strategy, academic alliance, what the importance of this academic alliance program is for Juniper and their strategy. So really awesome conversation. I hope you'll take a lot from it. I certainly learned something, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So thanks for coming back. Really appreciate all your feedback and your likes and your comments, and please just reach out to me. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Thank you. Hi, welcome to another edition of the Training-Led Growth podcast. I'm joined by a great guest today, Sanjiv Varma from Juniper Networks. Thank you so much for being part of this today.
Oh, you're welcome, Joe. Nice to be here. Thank you very much.
I appreciate your coming on and spending some time with us and sharing some of the knowledge you've gained over the years in this business we're in. So let me just introduce some of your background a little bit here. So you're currently Juniper Networks Vice President, Global Field Enablement and Customer Education Services. And we'll talk about that. I think that's doing some really, I would say, innovative work in not only enablement, but customer education and training in general. So I want to drill into that, but also spent time early on in the career at NetApp, spent a number of years at VMware, now at Juniper. So really talk us through a little bit about that evolution. You've really focused and been on the education and training and enablement side most of that time. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Wonderful experience in all of those three companies you mentioned. And the evolution's interesting because what we know as learning leaders just depends on what the ecosystem is within a particular company. And you have to kind of bring all of that together to tune your plans and your transformation plans to what's going on inside the company, what's expected in terms of customer growth, product adoption, training revenue, internal enablement, etc., and what phase of transformation growth the company itself is in, right? And each of those situations were really different. But I think there's enough industry knowledge out there in the field now that we can bring all of those together to deal with many of those different kinds of scenarios.
Mm-hmm. So have all the companies, NetApp, VMware, Juniper, have they all been primarily, when we're talking about customer education, have they all been primarily revenue generating customer education businesses?
Yes, but there are variations. There are variations in some places. Just because of the product set of a particular company, the revenue from training is a larger percentage of the overall product sale number, right? And thus the focus on that revenue and P&L is at a different scale compared to other companies where the revenue might be at a different percentage just because of the product mix. Like hardware, software product mix causes a lot of that delta. Mm-hmm. And then many companies, just depending on reception in the market and what kind of competition and product transformations they are going through, the expectations from the customers and students in terms of enablement expenses is also different. Mm-hmm. So we have to be very, very cognizant of all those dynamics while you plan how you're going to position a training organization to your customers and to your internal stakeholders.
Right. And And things have shifted, I think, probably since your days at NetApp through VMware till now at Juniper. I think things, talk to us about the mix a little bit of how you've delivered training. I think it's definitely shifted now. More virtual, obviously virtual, remote, subscription, but talk us through what is that evolution? What have you observed in that change and that evolution of how we deliver it now?
Yeah, I think there's a general industry evolution in terms of digitization, more data usage and automation, virtual ILTs and subscription models, all of those kinds of things, which are just normal transformations over time, which are going on. But there's a huge realization, at least in my role currently, that training ecosystems exist to grow product, right? Grow product sales, product adoption, customer enablement, customer success. And the revenue part of training is kind of a secondary impact to all of that. Mm-hmm. And if we try to nickel dime our customers on training revenue, then it's just not going to fall well in most cases. In some, depending on what the trajectory of your product is, it might be acceptable for still a relatively short amount of time, but eventually you have to focus on taking that barbed wire between you and the product away from the customer, so they can actually learn the product much better and be successful with the product. And that's the role of a training organization. We got to do that.
Yeah, I like the barbed wire analogy. So let's not keep people completely, stuck in what they're doing, but try to create some flexibility in how they can consume the learning and what they're doing.
Yes. Yeah. So just talking about at Juniper, we've gone through this huge transformation, and we implemented, just in our education services team, we implemented a 6-quarter transformation plan. And people are like, well, this is going to take 6 quarters, but it's a journey, right? And today, we have this kind of this 3-legged stool, which we are balancing. We are balancing our need and desire to proliferate Juniper technology across our customer base, folks who do not have experience in Juniper technology, but might have experience in other networking technologies, other virtualization technologies, etc., which are becoming very important even for a Juniper product set now. And new college grads from universities, etc., how to draw them into a Juniper ecosystem. So that's like one part of what we are really focused on. And then, of course, how to do that more and more while sustaining yourself through a P&L ecosystem, mm-hmm. right? And then, of course, the third part is internal and partner enablement. And, internally, the types of organizations which need enablement is, from sales to sales engineering and services with professional services, resident engineers, support engineers, our own engineering organization, and various kinds of partners which we have is the third leg of the stool for us, right? But the wonderful optimized ecosystem which we've been able to establish is this build once and use many, mm-hmm. right? And that drives huge efficiencies in the system. But of course, what we build once doesn't apply 100% to everyone, but those things can be customized. The base framework is very useful to leverage across different types of audience.
Mm-hmm. I love how you started where you said, look, training, education primarily is about selling more product. Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. It's about customer success. It's about customer adoption of our products. It's not, training is not the end game. The end game is the success of our customers.
Have you found that sales or sales leadership or revenue leadership, do you feel like they buy into that? Or have you seen that they're them buying into that more and more over the years with data? Or how do you kind of work to make sure that that message is well received in the company?
It's 100% well received. That's what they want, right? Yeah. If I was selling a product, right, like $5 million, right? Do I want to haggle with my customer for a $50,000, $75,000 training deal? No, I don't want to, right? My request is always going to be, hey, how can we make this easy for the customer, right? So our product teams, product sales teams are, fully invested in the thought process that a training function is for customer success. Now, of course, we have to do that and also sustain ourselves, right? Because we need resources to do all of that work. We need infrastructure, et cetera, and it actually needs to be done well, right? High quality, et cetera. The content needs to stay aligned with the products, right? There are multiple products which companies have. So yes, there is an investment in training, and that's the responsibility of the training leader to meet the need of the field while being also able to show the value of training, right? Make it easy for the product account managers to understand, easy for the customers to understand, and affordable for the customer to consume, right. And getting this cultural buy-in from the account managers that, yes, what we are offering on the table in terms of enablement is world-class, is industry leading in quality, pricing, and how it's consumed, right? Otherwise, it is a lot of noise for them. And we need to take that out, and we need to focus on how we can make all of that easy for customer success.
So that's really, I think you touched on the second leg of the stool there, right? The P&L. So making sure that the business is generating revenue to reinvest into the business, to create great content, to grow the team, to do all those things. Is that right? Did I hear that?
Yeah, you have to do it, right? You have to do it, but it's not, it just depends on different companies, right? So in different places, there might be a focus on growing even training revenue just because of what stage that particular company is, what kind of adoption they are getting for the product in the market, a leadership position or not, et cetera, et cetera. In the current situation, our plan is to fund our resources, continue to optimize them, and continue to proliferate and democratize as much of the training we can for customer success.
Mm-hmm. So if you're let's say you're a product, you're an emerging product in the market, you've got some competition, and so it's more about like, how do we get market share for this new technology? Am I thinking right that you may be better off going a proliferation strategy there and just trying to get product adopted and used as opposed to trying to hedge towards the revenue? Would that be accurate?
100%. 100%. The other thing is that as we see the millennials coming into the workforce, it's a different thought process they have, right? For them, education should be like a birthright, right? Availability of that content should be like, why are you charging me for this, right? They expect to be able to learn when they need it in short bites, right? Where they need it. Mobile is what is the growing trend, obviously,
Yep.
And then, these day-long classes, which they have to go get approvals for thousands of dollars to attend, is certainly not the trend, right? So yes, you have to 100% make sure that in those conditions when you mentioned, like emerging companies, product adoption is key. You just have to go after product adoption and spread your knowledge availability as much as you can.
Yeah, and that leads me kind of to another trend I think we're starting to see as well, where I think training and education creates some of the best content, the best product content there is. I'd argue it's more detailed than marketing content. It's deep product knowledge from subject matter experts. I think, and I want your opinion on this, is I think that more companies are starting to use that content purposefully in the buying process. So people starting to get access to this really good, this well-developed training and education content earlier and earlier, like before they buy. Do you guys see that? Do you start to see that happening as well?
Yes, certainly. So there are the two items you touched in that that training organizations do end up having quality content, right? So that what I've seen happens is that, of course, all the content which we build is an assimilation process from various subject matter experts inside the company, right? And of course, depending on the product, the constituents of your team, what kind of technical skills they have, a lot of content comes from our own teams also, right? But there are lots of other subject matter experts we engage, right? But this team, the sole purpose of this team is to have that content of high quality, right? And therefore, they're focused on it. They pull the teams together, they review the content, they build it, and there is science behind the process of instructional design, the learning objectives, what is the student supposed to do, the flow of the content, etc. And then there is maintenance of all of that quality content, right? So therefore, it ends up being a good structured process, which is uniform in delivery, which can be upgraded in quality over time, etc. Right? So yes, absolutely. If you don't do that, then it ends up being like that particular subject matter expert and how much coffee and which coffee they had that particular day, and were they interested in like really whiteboarding deep dive, or were they just interested in telling a particular story that day, right? And there's really no uniformity. You don't know what was taught when, by who. And then the certification ecosystem comes up, which is even the next level of, credentialing, etc. Right? But the other part of your question in terms of customers consuming all of that earlier and earlier, yes, absolutely. Right? Customers want to deep dive into these complex products which we have in Juniper earlier in the cycle, purchase cycles many times, and we invite them in, right? We have an open offer for our account managers in any pre-sales cycle. If they want to bring in prospective customers into our courses, we make that happen. We make that happen free of cost.
Wow.
Right? Because we want to tell our customers how wonderful the product is.
Right.
And there's no better way to give them a deep dive in one of our courses. And at that point of time, there's this loyalty, and you become like an advisor to the customer, and the customer starts understanding your product much more, right? And it fastens the sales cycle.
Deep dive into one of the courses. I mean, that's that's amazing to hear, because I don't think we were doing as good a job at that 5 years ago as we do now, just as technology in general. And then do you make some of that content available just self-service, so they can just go find it, engage with it right off the public website?
Oh, huge. That's one of the stools, one of the legs of the stool, right? Our proliferation strategy, right? A lot of the content is made available for free. And in this specific case of Juniper, we have all of our associate level certifications now available for free.
Wow.
Right? No one in the industry has this. 5 of those certifications are available for free. All of the content required to achieve those certifications is available for free. And those are 5 courses of 3 days each. So 15 days worth of content.
Wow.
In a self-study ecosystem. It's all on demand. You can come in, take it anytime, and all of the associate certification vouchers will be made available to you, and you can go take a certification at our certification vendor. And there's a lot of other advanced content also, which is available for free, right? And the advanced content which we make for free is targeted to our emerging products, our advanced products, our sales plays, the use cases which we are trying to go after with our customers. Those modular content bits are also made available for free. So customers don't really have to wait to go to this deep dive 3-day class. Sometimes they don't have time, but they can go to a 30-minute module and learn about one of our technologies.
Right. I mean, to me, that's the training-led growth right there. You're giving away that valuable, that's super valuable content. You're getting that associate level. And then you have something obviously above associate level certifications as well. That's more the deeper knowledge. Is that correct?
Yeah, many of those bits of information which we release is from our advanced courses.
Okay.
Right? Is from a specialist level, professional, expert level courses, which we make available. And customers are using them in thousands, especially in the current situation when we are all working from home. We have seen huge growth, 100% growth in terms of unique logins coming to our platform.
That's great. And so you're investing in the market, right? You're investing in people to gain skills, to get to know Juniper products, to get to use it, get certified in it. And and all of that is to lead to further knowledge, further certification, and then product usage. Ultimately, it's all product usage, right?
Absolutely. And it's like this triangle, right? Students come in at the base, which is a much larger number of students we want to bring in.
Yeah.
They may be first time to networking. They may be first time to Juniper, but have other networking skills. They might be students who have experience in other IT technologies, virtualization, and other areas, but they want to come into the networking field, right? All of that is kind of this upswell of skills which are proliferating in the market, and they move up the chain, right? They go out there, they become reviewers of our products in their respective organizations. They become decision makers. They close the skill gap out there in the industry for our customers to hire Juniper skilled talent, for our partners to hire. Many of them become sales engineers in our partner organizations or sales managers in our partners. So yeah, it's an investment. It's an investment. And we are happy to do that as an education services organization.
Right. And those certifications are valuable too. Not only the associate, but the advanced are very valuable. It's from a skills perspective, marketability as a person. I think those are worth, and therefore I think that's why those are, worth the investment, right? That's paid for, but that's a very, very, that pays off.
Oh, absolutely. See, nowadays there's these, some commentary we hear from some of the industry leading figures. Oh, I don't really worry about the degree you have. We can hire you from high school if you can do the job, etc. Yes, it probably works for 0.1% of the people, right? But 99.99% of the rest of us, right, still are going through the regular process of gaining our skills, certifying and showing our skills in a uniform, psychometrically valid certification program. And then we are able to get those jobs, right? That is how 99.99% of the world still is, right? And yes, there is evolution.
Do you think that'll shift? Do you think the 99.99 will start to come down a little bit?
It will. It will. The skills expectation will become more specific rather than generic, right? So the need of a 4-year college degree and having this large number of baseline courses, I think will gradually go down just because of the cost structure also.
Right.
And the democratization of content in many of those areas. Students are able to find all of that kind of generic baseline skills for free. And there's really no reason to pay thousands of dollars at colleges for a 3-credit course.
You're right.
Right? So and there are lots of startup ecosystems currently which are moving in that direction.
Yeah.
Right. And yes, absolutely, it will change, and we have to change with that. So our work in the Academic Alliance program is currently reaching out to thousands and thousands of students worldwide. And we are working to integrate our content into those courses at college campuses. Our certifications are being taken by those students and actually counting towards credits towards their degree process.
Wow.
Right? And at some point of time, these things will just get carved out, and shorter path to jobs will have to emerge instead of like your 4-year degree, and then you come in and you have to go through a 6-month, 3-month, 1-year training program in different companies to actually start becoming productive on a technical IT kind of role. These timeframes have to reduce.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked about this before. I think it's a huge question of why spend that time and that much money. I don't know, these micro degrees or the technical capability degrees and a lot of this stuff. I just feel like a lot of kids coming out of school, if they know they're technical and know they want to, I just feel like it could be just a faster track to experience and work and frankly making money, right? Starting to support yourself. I think it's so, and I don't know, the COVID, I mean, think about all the kids that are not at school right now that, you know, are paying for being on campus, but they can't be on campus. I think it's going to have an impact. I do.
Yeah. I mean, it's been the general direction even before the current pandemic situation.
Yeah.
So yes, I agree with you, but there is also this other side of the coin, right? That what kind of a team player, what kind of a problem solver, what kind of a leader are you going to hire?
Right.
If we end up fast tracking students to do a specific thing, we might be successful at that, but are we being successful at all of those other attributes which I just mentioned? Right. So there is certainly a balance which is required between the two also.
Yeah, because a lot of those things you learn through experience, right? And learn through growing up a little bit, learn through maybe 4 years of university. That is a lot of stuff that you just, personal skills, right?
Right.
Personal, and how to be a good human being, right?
You can fast pace them through a specific skill area in 2 years and get them to do a particular job, but how are they going to grow in that job? How are they sustain themselves? What kinds of responsibilities they will be able to carry personally in the society and in the teams in which they are working?
Right.
These things take time to make a wholesome individual.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the balancing, which will be important also.
Yeah, and that also speaks to a big part of your role too, which is that internal enablement, right? So I think from the interviews that I've had and people that I've spoken to, I think younger folks coming out of school want mentors and want coaching too. They want to learn from not only peers, but they want to learn from folks that have been there and done that. And so I think that internal enablement and internal coaching and internal training that probably plays a pretty big role. Do you agree with that?
Huge. We were at a sales kickoff, and I was talking to a number of our sales engineers, which were recently hired in Juniper. And hey, what was your journey during your final year at college and maybe even earlier, and when you were looking for a job? What brought you here? And they were like, we got introduced to the Juniper product set and technology in our college through the Juniper Academic Alliance program.
Wow.
Right. And this particular gentleman had 7 Juniper certifications when he was hired.
Wow. That's
right. And he was like, I knew so many people in Juniper by the time I was a graduate, and I was 100% planning to be in Juniper, and I'm so happy that I'm here in Juniper because I want to learn more.
That's cool.
As I was seeing your ramp up program for new technology, etc. I was like, this is going to be a wonderful place, and that's what they want to do in their first year of their job, second year of their job. They're hungry. They want to learn more, and our internal enablement programs, and I'm sure internal enablement programs across the industries, are drivers of students making decisions in which company they want to join compared to some other company where there may not be a good program like that.
That's a cool story. I love that. So what can you do? Let's say you're a smaller company. What if you're what if you're mid-sized, you're not at the scale of a Juniper? How do you do that? Are there ways that you can start to engage with still within an alliance program, but that's just not as big? How do you do it?
Yeah, well, Juniper has been around for a long time, but we still behave like a startup in many cases because our products are transforming really fast, right? The network industry is transforming really fast. So many of our products are at that stage of growth and adoption that we have to almost behave like a startup organization also. But if you're purely much smaller, what you want is product growth. And if there's no product knowledge, then product growth is going to be hard. So you just have to figure out what your investment is going to be in your enablement programs, and you've got to do it.
Yeah.
Some of the leaders in the C-suite kind of think of enablement programs as, like a tertiary exercise. Somebody should be able to do it. And those are all investment decisions, prioritizing where they want to focus the handful of resources which might be there, etc. But a really thoughtful strategy early in the cycle on how an enablement function can lead product growth is key to product success.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I appreciate you sharing that, because I think there's a lot of mid-sized and smaller companies that aren't investing in the proliferation, aren't investing even in a lot of this early on training. So I think a lot of these companies and leaders can learn from your approach. So I really appreciate it. So Sanjiv, I really thank you so much for your time. This has been an awesome conversation, and I'm sure I'm going to get some more questions and feedback, and I would love to continue on with you in another session, because I think we got a little bit dangerous, and now we could go a little bit deeper on some of these areas.
You're welcome, Joe. Anytime.
Thank you again. So again, thank you. So
Sure.
Sanjiv Varma, Juniper Networks, can be found on LinkedIn. I'm sure if people want to directly ask Sanjiv some questions. But thank you again, Sanjiv, and we'll talk soon.